In 1991, American parents had to reapply to keep their children every 5 years. At first, most people supported it. The government called it the Family Stability Program. They said it would reduce child abuse, improve education, and create healthier homes. And after years of economic collapse across the country, people wanted stability. Every family received a score: income stability, emotional behavior, home environment, psychological evaluations. Even children were interviewed privately at school, especially children. By 1993, family scores became more important than report cards in most American suburbs, and families with low scores started disappearing quietly. Nobody talked about them after they left. Daniel Mercer tried not to think about it. At 42 years old, he spent most nights driving delivery trucks through neighborhoods he used to work in. Before the factory closed, he had a normal life, normal paycheck, normal home, normal future. Now he lived in a shrinking house with overdue bills hidden inside kitchen drawers. But none of that scared him as much as the evaluations, because his daughter Emily had just turned 10, and at 10 years old, children were legally allowed to request reassignment. The government called it voluntary family transition. At school, teachers encouraged children to discuss emotional safety openly. They compared family scores during lunch, the same way older generations compared sports teams. Higher score families received better housing, priority health care, school advantages, faster food assistance. Children noticed those things quickly. Emily noticed too. At first, small things changed. She stopped inviting friends home. Then she started correcting Daniel during conversations. Negative emotional language affects scores, a sentence no 10-year-old should ever say. Daniel started rehearsing conversations before speaking to her, even inside his own house. The first evaluation officer arrived in October. She inspected kitchen supplies, emotional responses, sleeping arrangements, stress indicators. Then she asked Emily if she felt emotionally protected at home. Daniel never forgot how long she hesitated before answering. After that night, he began changing everything. He borrowed furniture from neighbors. He stopped mentioning money around Emily. He smiled more, especially when exhausted. Soon the entire neighborhood started pretending. Families practiced happiness the same way previous generations practiced fire drills. Arguments disappeared in public. Children monitored parents constantly. One family across the street failed their review in November. By morning, another family had already moved into the house. Nobody asked questions. A month later, Emily began spending weekends with a higher-ranked family across town, the Whitmans. Large house, clean yard, 2 new cars. Their daughter had her own piano room. When Emily returned home, she talked differently, quieter, careful, like she was comparing 2 versions of her future. Daniel noticed immediately. The final evaluation happened 3 days before Christmas. The officer reviewed emotional stability, financial recovery, parental consistency. Daniel answered every question correctly. For the first time in months, he thought he might survive this, and technically he did.
2 weeks later, his approval letter arrived. Family status renewed. Daniel cried in the kitchen after reading it, not because he was happy, but because he was finally allowed to stop being afraid. That same night, Emily sat quietly across from him at the dinner table. Then she slid a reassignment form across the table. Daniel stared at it without speaking. Emily avoided eye contact. Finally, she whispered, "They make me feel safer." Daniel signed the paper 3 days later. By spring, another family lived in the Whitman house. Emily had already been reassigned again, and like most Americans by then, Daniel slowly learned something the government never said out loud. The program was never really about protecting children. It was about teaching people that love alone was no longer enough to deserve a family.